First things first, we need to set up an environment we can work on. If you already have one set up, then feel free to skip this part of the lecture. You can use whatever environment suits you the best. The only requirement is that it should allow you to install and use WordPress. If you're on a Mac, you can use a program called MAMP. If you're on Windows, then you have quite a few options. The two most popular solutions available are XAMPP and WAMP. I find that WordPress is compatible with either, and there is no advantage to use either one for WordPress, so it's all about preference. I prefer to use WAMP, so that's what I'll be using. If you want to use WAMP, then follow along with me. Open up the browser of your choice and navigate to wampserver.com. Scroll down and you'll find the download section. Once downloaded, you can now run the installer with its default configuration. I already have WAMP installed, so I will not be going through the installation. In your startup menu, you'll see something called Start WAMP Server. Click this and now you'll see a W icon appear in your icon tray. Click on this and you will be provided with quite a few options. It isn't necessary to know what all this does, as we're fine with most of the default settings. There is one thing we need to do. Under Apache Modules, search for something called rewrite_module and turn it on. It's very important this to be on. This module basically makes sure that our server supports WordPress custom permalinks. It just makes our URLs easier to read and understand. Not necessarily required, but it is very helpful. Alright, let's begin installing WordPress. Go to wordpress.org and then download the latest version of WordPress. You'll find a fairly small zip file that contains all of WordPress. If you open it up, you'll find a list of files, but you won't have to deal with most of this. WAMP provides a folder where all our code should be placed. To find this folder, click on the green icon again and click the option www directory. Inside this directory, I want you to create a folder named Udemy. Drag and drop the contents of the WordPress zip file into this directory. Before running the installation, we need to set up a database. Click on the WAMP icon and then click on phpMyAdmin. Click on Databases and in the Create New Database form, enter a name for your database. I'm going to call this Udemy. The collation should be UTF-8_general_CI. The collation is basically the character set that this database will be using. There are hundreds of sets, but this kind of stuff is beyond the scope of this lecture. WordPress recommends UTF-general_CI as it allows us to accept a wide variety of characters. Click on Create and you should now have a new empty database. The next step is to install WordPress. You can find the installation by opening up your browser and typing localhost/Udemy. The language will be English. If you speak another language, by all means, select your preferred language. WordPress is now telling us that it needs to set up a configuration file that connects to our database. Fill in the fields with your database information. Host should be localhost. The database name will be Udemy. The username will be root and the password will be left empty. This user is created for us by default by WAMP. Leave the prefix as is. You can change it if you like it though. All it does is create the database tables with a prefix of our choosing. So for example, if there was a table named posts, then WordPress will prefix that table with WP_ and the new name of the table will be WP_posts. Now you can submit the form. You should now see a success message similar to mine. Next part of the installation is just some information about your site. Site title, Udemy. Username, set your username to whatever you like. Since I'm working on a local host, I'm going to keep it simple and set this to admin. Password, I'm also going to make this admin. Email, input any email. This field actually won't work because we don't have an SMTP server set up, so I'm going to set this to admin@admin.com. Allow search engines to index this site. Turn this off since we're on a local machine. Submit this form and you should now see a success message. You can now log in with the credentials you just set a few seconds ago. You'll be taken to the WordPress admin dashboard. That's it. Congrats. The final step is to set up the permalink structure. Go to Settings, Permalinks, and set the structure to Post Name. This will make our URL simple and easy to read. That's it. We can now begin coding.